Do you want ideas for using your 6x6 pattern paper without making scraps, but you prefer the 5x7 card size? Well, I've got you covered. Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I have a template and sketch that shows you how to take one 6x6 piece of pattern paper and turn it into two 5x7 cards with no scraps. This is a template that is available as the first link in the video description. If you want a pack of templates, if you don't want to have to bother with downloading them all individually, there is actually going to be a 5x7 pack of 10 at the Jess Crafts at Etsy shop. So there'll be a link in the video description and a coupon code, jesscrafts.com/shop. And you would be able to purchase 10 different templates like this that make cards from 6x6 paper, and then it makes a 5x7 card. That means that there are 2, 9 and 10 haven't been revealed yet, but they are in that pack. Okay, so I'm using this leaf paper. It's non-directional and you could turn it any which way, but this pattern paper, or this template, does work well with directional pattern paper. So say I wanted to pick the pumpkin, which I do really like, but I did already use a navy blue paper, so I want to show you some, just a little bit different of a card. I think they look a little too same. Okay, this sketch today is super easy. I actually have something similar where I take these 2x3 pieces and I use them on A2 size cards. So today we'll take our 6x6 piece of paper and we'll cut it to 2x6 inch strips, and then we'll cut each of those 2x6 inch strips into 2x3 inch strips. And then we're going to cut our mats. We're going to cut them to 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. I am going to use the metallic paper that is the same, it's part of the same collection. It was sent to me to work with, and I thought, well, I may as well use it before I hoard it, because I will do that sometimes, especially with like shiny, pretty, fancy papers. I mean, the whole reason I got started with sharing these templates is because I have a problem. I love paper and I tend to keep it and see the potential in it. So I started making these templates so that I wouldn't hoard my pattern paper and I'd get a lot of use out of it. So I'm going to cut these to 2 1/4 by 3 1/4. And so now I've learned to really just chop into my paper. 1, there's always more paper in the world. And 2, I've learned that even with my paper busting templates, even with learning how to make cards like faster and no scraps and all that, I still cannot craft faster than I can buy more pattern paper. So I am in no worries of running out, and I'm just going to use something when I want to. And so then this, instead of having a cardstock mat, will have this paper mat, but has this metallic shine to it. Now you might want to cut something out of the center here so it's a little bit better of a value that is kind of a fancy paper. I recommend that with anything that you want to get a good use out of. So like say even your cardstock, you say, I want to get a little bit more out of it. Cut a little word out of this or something like that. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I am still going to follow the sketch, absolutely, but I wanted to do some little extra embellishment around the areas that I'm going to use the pattern paper. So I am going to put them across the card, just like it shows. However, I wanted to include a sentiment, and without die cutting a label or anything like that, in part because I had an idea for using the washi tape from the collection. I don't use a lot of washi tape, but when I thought of this idea, I was like, hey, maybe I should be using it more. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp directly on the card. I have this stamp set from scrapbook.com, the fall sampler. I like this sweeter than pumpkin pie. However, there's no pumpkins or anything on this. It is more of a fall card, so I thought I'm going to use this Bountiful Blessings. I think that will just make it just a little bit more useful to me, but I do really like that sweeter than pumpkin pie sentiment, but I could send this like kind of all fall long. So I want to make sure that where I place this particular sentiment, I'm going to have enough room that there's still a border on the top. So instead of putting everything kind of smack dab in the center, I'm going to shift it up a little bit to make room for my sentiment. And I want to make sure that it's going to extend across the area of 2 of these rectangles. So Those two are going to be butted up on the side. This is going to go in the middle. There's not a lot of extra room here. That's totally okay, and it's going to stretch across both of them. So it looks like good positioning. Of course, making it straight would be ideal. I'm not perfect at that, but we're going to hope that that's a pretty good job. You can always check the lines on your MISTI. Today, this is going to be kind of sad to admit, but this is the first time I realized that my mini MISTI doesn't hold a 5x7 card. I mean, obviously, it's not the right measurements, but I don't craft a lot on 5x7, but I do like sharing a variety of ideas with you because I know there's a lot of people who do, and there's just not as many tutorials out there for it. So I try to make a point to share a variety of things. Okay, so the Essentials pack that I was sent had these ink cubes in it. I like Lawn Fawn ink and I use it a lot, but I have no problem with other inks. I just, try to keep my ink stash pretty standard. I had done some sampling of this ink ahead of time because I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to smear. It says it's acid free, but it doesn't specifically say if it's pigment ink or if it is dye ink. And so I wanted to test it. And based on the fact that it doesn't smear, I'm going to think it's probably dye ink. So I just wanted to let you know that is not like a pigment ink that would smear a lot. Okay. And I probably am going to go, I haven't introduced any of the blue from the collection. So even though navy blue is probably, like, as I mentioned before, my favorite color, I'm going to use one of the other colors from the collection. We're going to see how it does on this stamping. It seemed to stamp well. I was using the rubber stamps from the collection for that other sample I just showed you. And then give it a good press down. Ooh, this is a lot more orange than I thought it was. I thought it was more of a reddish color. I should have sampled that beforehand, but it's okay. It's going to look beautiful with everything else we're doing. You could, though, this is something to always consider, like say, I was like, ooh, that's a little bit more of a brighter orange than I wanted. I'm going to come in with the brown ink and I'm going to stamp, well, maybe it's a yellow, we'll find out. I'm going to stamp that over it, and I can do multiple stampings because I'm working with my MISTI, and the inks aren't really going to hurt each other. I never really had that experience. If you did get a little bit of like the orange ink on the brown pad because it was left on the, just clean the stamp in between and that wouldn't happen. But I don't get too concerned about that thing. So I kind of like how that toned it down, so we'll do one more stamping with that. I'm going to use my scrapbook.com grid mat to help me place these things down in a straight line. So I've lined up the bottom of the card with one of the lines on the grid mat. You can do this with a lot of other grid mats, but I like this one because it does have that A2 size card. I'm not working with that today, but I do a lot of the time, and it helps me to center things. So I'm going to come over here to this line, put it down on that side, and then center this last one in the middle. You could make your mats a little bit smaller if you want to have more room in between them, but I like how this makes the card pretty full. And then adding the sentiment down here and the washi tape that I'm about to show you is going to kind of continue to contribute to that. Now, the washi tape from the collection, there were 4 of them. I've misplaced the small green one. It's just like a, oh, here it is. It's a solid green. A plaid, the same pattern as this paper, and then the same, this pattern, all these patterns actually are featured in the collection. So there is, this pattern is one of the papers, and so you could coordinate and use them together. I could use this one because it's the pattern paper, but I'm going to mix it up. And then this plaid is one of the papers as well. So that's what comes in the pack. The Essentials pack, like if you want a couple of the supplies from the collection, works out to be a pretty good deal. All right, I want the idea of like a torn washi next to like a very sort of rustic look next to my sentiment. And again, I'm going to use my grid mat to kind of help me line it up. So I'm just going to tear a little bit off here, and I'm going to tuck that under. I think, I don't think I can tape it down straight today. Let's try that again. And line it up with that. There we go. Okay, and then I'll do the same thing on the other side. This time, again, I want this, like the tape is sort of slanting in because the leaf is there. Again, I want to do the same thing here. I want the tape to be sort of slanting in towards that bottom B, and I want it lined up. So I'm going to tear it off on this side and then put it on that same line that I put it on the other side. Keep everything nice and straight across the card. See if I want to maybe bring it a little closer, how even that looks. Nice thing about craft tape like this is it's removable for a certain amount of time, but you know, you can really kind of burnish it down and then it will stick over time. Okay. And then you could trim those off if you like, or tuck them under, whatever. Like if you think that it adds a nice little look to the inside of the card, go ahead and put them in. You could even try to wrap it around more completely to give it a really finished look on the edge, on the end, whatever works for you. I'll place down my pattern paper there, and then I think that my card is finished. You of course could add plenty of extra embellishments as you want. I can make a whole second one of this card because I have all the supplies from that single piece of 6x6 paper, and I have more of all this. I hope that, you know, I try to focus so much on pattern paper on my channel, but I snuck in a little idea for using up some washi tape or ribbon if that's what you have in your collection as well. If you found this video helpful, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know that you like this video with the share to your crafty community, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links, including all of that 10 pack of templates if you're in love with 5x7 cards. See you in the next video. Bye.